We're here live. No Damn's Given podcast episode, whatever the next episode is. So this is my favorite one to do, and we're back talking with our brewer and Miss Lauren Dormany, who works in our tap room. And so hello to both of y'all. We're going to try something different today because I will tell you that podcasts are a little bit different. We're weird as far as its social media thing. And Lauren and I were just talking about it. Like, it's supposed to be just a conversation, but it seems to me that the headphones sort of make people kind of whatever.
They do, yeah. It does get you in a different mindset to rather than just talking around the table. It feels a little bit more formal for sure. Yeah.
And so like the podcast we did, and it will actually be out. So the podcast we did last week, that came out last week, once we took our headphones off and sat around and started talking, it just felt so much more free, and the conversation was better. So we're going to try that today. As always, if you enjoy it, please hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. Helps us defeat the Google algorithm, which is just my little thing. So, like I said, we're on our favorite topic today, and that's beer. And we do have an announcement to make. Pretoria Fields has hired a CEO, Chief Executive Officer, and I have been serving in that capacity for the last 5 years. It seems weird since we only been open 18 months. Yeah. But
people don't realize how much work it takes before you
the
even
conceptualization started a lot earlier than that. Yeah. And we're going to start working on Pretoria Collective Hemp, which is a new project, and it's going to take up much more of my time. And so we hired Tom Vest. Tom comes to us from Better Brands. He has been in the beer business for over 30 years. I don't remember the exact number, but I know it's many years.
Enough. And
a lot of good knowledge there. Everybody's excited, and so we'd like to welcome Tom to our team. And so congratulations to him for getting the job. Mr. Albert Etheridge will move over with me to the hemp company, so congratulations to him. And so pilot brews. So one of the things we've been doing a lot, and we've been talking a lot more after we have gotten open and our cores have been doing well, is pilot beers. And to me, this is the artistic reference of our brewers. So it's fun or not fun or
it's always fun. It's always fun, and no matter what you're doing, I mean, you have to approach it with the mentality that it's most likely not going to be perfect. It's not going to be a finalized product, but you learn from everything that you do, and be it if you're working with a new hop or a new malt, or we've been working with both with some terpenes, which some other brands have done, but
what's a terpene?
Terpene is basically a chemical substance in most fruits, vegetables, really just vegetation that produces a different chemical aroma of it goes much more in depth than just aroma, but that's what we play with as far as brewers go, is the aroma and in turn flavor that you get from these things, and they're naturally occurring in everything. You hear a lot about it with hemp because it's easily derived from hemp.
I didn't even bring up hemp. That's awesome. It just falls into the conversation.
One of the gentlemen that's helping us with the hemp project is actually suggesting to use banana terpenes that don't actually smell like bananas. They just have the same chemical structure as some of the other terpenes that are out there. So
we're trying to copy the hemp. hemp terpenes,
and
myrcene and
the more scientific research that comes out, it's more of a along the lines of being in the same family as they're naturally occurring in abundance in hemp and hops. So kind of playing those two against each other as far as creating a more or a less volatile substance than hops are, because the main reason you have a shelf life on beer is because the hops degrade out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, scientists have discovered how to isolate these terpenes, and they actually prolong the aroma and the shelf stability of these very hoppy beers that it just stays shelf stable a lot longer. So
there's some synergy with the hops.
Yeah. I mean that's where it originally came from, is that family of hops and hemp and marijuana that is just naturally occurring in abundance with them. So it's easily isolated from those. And now apparently bananas as well. So, yeah, well, kind of the opposite end of the
more
spectrum.
Bananas now.
Yeah.
Like,
but yeah, it's an exciting topic to get into, and
there's some association with bananas and marijuana.
I'm sure they've
there's an
done
association
everything
with
in that field.
In
I'm
that
sure
category somewhere.
Yeah. There's no limit to the creativity of those folks. So,
yeah, the pot jokes are going to start. I'm sure.
I would not put it past them. But yeah, no, it's nice to
cheers.
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 Yeah, it's just nice to have as we go, we get more scientific feedback from these things that people are experimenting with, and the CBD that we're working with as well. That's another thing, is how to mix that oil and water. That's two substances that shouldn't go together naturally, but
right.
Being
because
humans,
CBD cannabidiol is an oil,
right?
And so we've got to have some sort of carrier to get it to
and it's just that's just how science works, is that oils and waters separate, and us being humans is we like a good challenge of defeating Mother Nature,
right?
And, so yeah,
improving,
improving, not defeating. But
it's a surgical term.
But yeah,
mainly plastics improve Mother Nature.
Right. So yeah, I mean that's another field that we're kind of dipping our toe into and figuring out, because there have been some products out there that have not been as they're advertised, and they're kind of getting a little bit of whiplash now that third-party independent companies are testing it and figuring out that it's not as these people have claimed. So we just want to make sure that whatever we're doing is both beneficial and actually works.
Yeah. Stay true to our story.
Right. So working with chemists and trying to figure out the best way to do that, and
that's got to be nice to have a chemist on staff now.
Yeah, no, it really is, and I think she's about to figure out that I'm very annoying when when you have a question, when I'm inquisitive, and I know somebody knows more than I do. That's one of the reasons that I became a brewer, is because I was just so annoying to the brewers at the time.
They finally said,
were
yes,
like,
you can have a
fine,
job.
yeah, like, well, I'll tell you how to do this, but you got to go clean that tank for me. So, yeah, it's good to get back to my roots in that sense. How
have having the pilot brews changed the feel of the tap room? Is it good, bad, otherwise?
It's been great since the first one in March.
Yeah.
Right? It was March.
Yeah. I've lost all track of time. So.
Yes, because it was, I think the second one was the Cinco de Mayo.
Right.
It was March, April, but it's been incredible. People are so excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me that was kind of, especially when we did the wet hop ale, this last release, that was kind of a real proud moment, I think, for everybody in the brewery and tap room, just to be able to say, yes, every hop that's been used in this was picked, and then within hours it was thrown into the mix, or into the boil, or
Right.
Pretty much. I mean, we go from a boil and then basically steep them at boiling temp, like a little bit lower than boiling temperature. Just to get those aromas out of it. But
So, have you ever worked with wet hops before, or with fresh hops before?
Yeah, we did it at the last place that I worked at in DC. We did kind of a similar method. I mean, we did get them from Virginia, so I did take, I think like 6 or 8 hours to get them into the building, and then we started the brew. So it was probably closer to like 10 hours, but I mean that's pretty good for being in the middle of a major metropolitan area, from a farm called Whipple Creek that was, I think they're still doing that program, but yeah, I had a little bit of experience doing it before, and but never actually picking them, like actually going out there and picking them ourselves, and then driving them 20 minutes across town is a lot different of a process than just having a farmer show up with bags full of hops that you throw in.
It was I think probably like a full circle moment for sure. Just, but yeah, it's always there's a lot of excitement around the new releases. What I love is to look up on the board and there's a different name of a beer from all these crazy regions all over the world. Words that a lot of people in maybe, I don't know, California might have not even really known these really off the wall, super traditional beers that these guys are kind of playing with. And it's like, people are so excited to try new things. And even though you can't get a sample, everybody's like, so what? Yeah, I want to try that. So it's been my favorite nights are definitely the beer release nights.
Super cool.
So,
yeah, it's a lot of fun to do. And, not only myself, but, the other brewers, just kind of letting them play around and use their creativity, and everyone's got a kind of different palate. So what might be my favorite beer this month might be someone else's trash, and vice versa. Until next month, when your taste buds kind of get acquired to IPAs or sours or whatever it might be, and then you kind of have a craving for something a little bit different. So
I love like Dunkelweiss. Like somebody came in and was just like, "When are y'all gonna do another Dunkelweiss?" And I was like, and Kevin, like you were like, "I'm gonna be surprised if this really goes over well." And then it's like, the Dunkelweiss was the first to go.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
Then you got folks coming in, and then she's like, my favorite beer is Dunkelweiss now, and I can't find it anywhere.
It's definitely that double-edged sword of and Dunkelweiss in particular, and there have been a couple others. I just kind of brewed for selfishness, more or less, and hoping that people would get a little bit of education and be like, that's interesting. But to hear that people actually like it, it's a good feeling, and it lets me know too that people are getting more educated about the greater beer world in Albany, which was kind of one of my goals when I started here, was to expand the knowledge of Southwest Georgia. To the greater beer world.
Expand their palate.
Yeah, exactly. There's it's so heavily dominated by macro beers for so long, and lagers that you kind of had that rift of people that were beer drinkers or weren't beer drinkers, and to kind of break that down a little bit and say, if you were a beer drinker, here's something that you can drink that was similar enough to what you had. And if you weren't a beer drinker, here's something completely different that you've probably never had that is along the same lines as a wine or, a cocktail, to kind of bring them into the beer world. So I'm glad that that's we're getting at least a little bit of footing in that regard.
That's cool. So southern latitudes tend, I don't know how to say that exactly right, but southerly latitudes tend to not really be recognized for beer as much. If you take our latitude, I think you go around the world, you can find some wineries and stuff, but depending on how arid or how wet the region is. But the southerly, and it seems in modern times, because of refrigeration, we should be able to really, that shouldn't really be an issue. I mean, refrigeration was the issue because beer is pretty, it's pretty fragile once it's made, but and it doesn't store very well unless it's made cold. But what do you think here's a question to throw out. What's going to be the middle Georgia or southern Georgia or Georgia beer? I mean, what style are we going to be known for? Can we create a style that we're known for? I mean, is that maybe that's not even the question, but
it is a good question. And all of these beer styles, no matter what we're drinking right now, if you have, a golden ale or an IPA or a Goza, just looking at the table, like those are all from a specific region throughout history, and it's hard to put your finger on something and say this is going to be the beer style for Southwest Georgia or Southeastern United States.
Yeah, but it's a fun question to think about, right?
No, it is, and those things kind of are more of like a collective thing rather than
good word.
Yeah, just to kind of plug ourselves. But it's more of a collective thing rather than somebody being like, I'm going to make this and this is going to be the Georgia beer. It's more of southern breweries in general, and I think of from us to North Carolina and then over to Alabama kind of as our little region. And what sticks out, and it's not just it, and it's really not at all what the brewers want to do. Like, again, if I had my druthers, I'd be making Dunkelweisses and all kinds of crazy stuff that half the population would think I was a nut for making. But it's really dictated about what people want to drink, and that's part of the education too, is opening people's eyes to other styles that they can kind of relate to and come back to and say, if it's a lager, or if it's a golden ale, or if it's some sort of newfangled IPA, which is probably just around the corner again. It's up for the people to decide. It's not for us as brewers. We can make the beers, and especially for us, kind of our ethos is using ingredients from the southeast,
from the local
United
area.
States.
And I guess that's what I was thinking about, was like, what are we've grown a few things. It's hard to find the Holy Grail, which is something new that nobody's done, which, I mean, beer's been around for a couple of thousand years, so it's been done about every way you can think about.
Right.
I mean, I think the terpene infused beers that's an interesting thing.
It is interesting.
It's hard,
but again, like something like two examples. I don't want to go too in depth on them, but like the Goza came from having a source of water that had a lot of salt in it. So it wasn't that people were putting salt into it. It was just that their water had more salt than your typical water.
Right.
So that style evolved. The IPA, they needed to figure out a way to keep beer fresh while it was going around the coast of
India.
Africa.
Right.
Yeah. So they just kept adding hops in there to make it, and people ended up enjoying it, and that became a style. So it's almost more a thing of necessity rather than trying to push something onto people.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah. So
definitely.
I mean, it's what is unique to this region, and what do people like, and
to lots of calcium in the water. It's
really
hot.
They better like
it's
calcium.
really hot.
Yeah, exactly.
Say that quite a few times.
Right.
Yeah, Cascade hops seem to grow well, so we'll see.
Yeah, no,
we'll keep working on them.
that was probably the greatest thing about getting that wet hop beer is to show that it can be done, especially in the second year, to have the kind of harvest that we did is it gives me a good feeling for next year. And I mean, crop year to year is going to change no matter what you're growing, but just to kind of have that experience in year two of they came out and they came out good, and they came out early. We know about when we need to pick them. We know about when we need to start thinking about doing it if we can do it on a larger scale, and all that good stuff. I mean, those are my favorite phrase, good problems to have.
Oh gosh, yeah. So the CBD infused, can't actually infuse it with CBD.
What's that, beer?
It's like illegal right now, right?
Yeah. Well,
how do they put it in water?
And
is that legal? We don't even know.
So it is legal because I mean it's on Amazon. So
yeah.
I mean,
so if it's on Amazon, it must be legal.
Yeah. No, and other companies have done this kind of stuff to varying degrees, and
not to throw anybody under the bus. So.
Well, again, it's just. The more science that's put out and into it, the more they're seeing that it's not as stable as some of the companies want you to believe it is. And even if it is,
stable, you mean it degrades over time?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Light, terrible for CBD. Oxygen, terrible for CBD. So I mean that's two things that we work on in the beer world. Light and oxygen
so
are
we know those
terrible.
two very well.
Yeah. I mean that's all that has been that's been the major focus for most of brewing over the last 5-10 years is how do we make sure that oxygen gets in our beer.
I wondered about that because there was a test done on some products that are out in the market, and Full Third didn't have anything in them. So Full Third of CBD products had no CBD.
Yeah,
and I wondered because I was thinking, well, are this many people that
they're bold
that that whatever, but no. And then it occurred to me that maybe they're just degrading.
They're degrading, and also they're separating. Like if you don't have and. I'm sure there are people out there that will know a lot more about fluid dynamics than I do, but nano emulsifications is kind of the best proven way to do it right now, and those machines are very expensive. So
emulsification basically means that you take a lipid, you break it down into little bitty pieces,
right?
And then it's distributed evenly in those little bitty pieces, almost like really small cells.
Yes,
in themselves, all the way through the body.
Right. And basically how it does it is it's a bunch of very very high frequency vibrations that basically vibrate the liquid to a point where the oils will be able to stabilize inside of the liquid. But
one of my favorite word, missils, MISC. I won't even try to spell it. Missils. So,
but yeah, I mean the other thing that can happen is what happens with oil and water. All your oils are going to be on the bottom, so you're going to drink all of this water, and then there's going to be that little, 10-15 milligrams of oil sitting there at the bottom that you're not going to be able to get to anyway.
Sure.
So I mean, again, it's waiting for science to do its thing, and trying to keep up with all of the advancements, but also not getting too far ahead of yourself where you're just like,
oh yeah, try to get things to taste good,
right?
Try to get and product development's always like that, right?
Going through it. I mean, like even the 500 milligram stuff that we have. I mean, that's a light dose, and now you're talking about a 15 milligram dose for a 12 ounce.
It's got to be gone.
I mean, it's such a small amount that even if you do get that 15 milligrams,
it's got to be for taste. Must be for taste.
Yeah, exactly.
Must be for taste.
Although, I don't know.
Might be a little wink in there.
Yeah.
So You're a CBD expert. No. Yeah. Your mom took it. I mean, there's all kind of.
My mom takes it. My dogs take it.
Dogs. So does it help dogs?
The only reason that I ever tried that, which I don't know why I hadn't thought about it, because my dogs are my world. One of them gets especially freaked out at storms, and last year when Hurricane Michael was coming, I mean, for like a week prior to that, this dog was just, trembling, Yeah. And so got these little doggy treats from this place in Berkeley, California.
And
they're great.
They worked?
Oh yeah.
That's super cool.
It might be a placebo effect through my dog.
To me, yeah. You calmed down, so then the dog calmed down, so everything was better.
Yeah, but whatever works, Yeah. That's how those things work anyway. So.
Yeah.
But no,
I think it should work. It should work. Yeah.
Yeah, it works good. We'll do that before a vet visit or before a storm or a trip.
I'll have to try that because we've got the same thing.
It works good.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things on my list of things that we've been talking about, sparkling ales, and trying to enter that market. And we've talked a lot about it because we both feel like that White Claw is tasteless crap.
Yeah.
And so, and I think I can speak frankly when we say that. And what we wanted to do was have a product that continued to be organic, and it was true to what we're trying to do. We're trying to promote. We're trying to promote our region's resources, which
and working with farms is always going to be our, be it our own farm or other farms in the area is always going to be our first and foremost way to get flavors. And I don't think you're going to have anybody argue with you about the flavor impact of any of these seltzer.
Right.
Like they're naturally not supposed to have any flavor.
Both from the yeast and from the malt. And
the majority of the recipes that I've come across don't even have malt in them, which is another whole. We can do a whole nother podcast on
maltless beer
on the TTB and their rulings on what kind of fermentation dictates what kind of beverage it actually is. But I'll digress for another day on that. But yeah, nobody's gonna argue that that's that's what they crave to drink. It's it's a health thing. People want low carbs, they want low calories in what they're drinking, and beer is quite frankly loaded with it. And it's taking away from the craft beer market. I think people are still interested in the natural flavors and things that aren't more or less built with chemicals in them.
No doubt.
And so that's what we're trying to do.
Non-natural chemicals too. So the only thing that I thought of, which if you don't put malt in, then it's definitely gluten free. So that would be one. That would be one advantage to the idea of somebody's trying to do a low or no gluten diet. Then that's definitely an advantage.
Right.
It's hard to get diastatic, alcohol producing capacity for the yeast if you're not putting something in there.
Well, again, we're humans, and we want to figure that out. So the yeast culturing world has definitely come a long way when it comes to that, and there's specialized yeast for that type of thing now.
Just put a little sugar in it, let the yeast go.
Yeah. There's naturally occurring yeast everywhere. There's gonna be one that will literally just eat anything and produce alcohol. It's just just again, like
the
humans,
Lord.
like I'm sure you've come across some friends that anything in sight they'll just devour it.
Oh
yeah. I know my brother's like that. He'll devour everything in sight, and he won't gain a pound. I don't have those genes. Yeah, I don't have those genes, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean,
so is it a calorie thing? Is that
that's how I'm approaching it. Is that people want low calorie, they want low carb, they want something that they can drink socially with their friends and still have that social lubricant without having to worry about equating that into their diet. In some way, which I mean, I think I could definitely do better with that, but yeah, I mean, it's more about creating a product that people want like that, but is also underneath our umbrella of how we do things, and using actual malt, using wheat is pretty good because wheat doesn't have a whole lot of flavor to it, but it does have a good amount of sugar to it.
Sure.
And using things that are a little bit more sussed out over the years. Like I like the flavor of champagne yeast, and it kind of gives you that winey, vinous flavor a little bit without being overbearing.
Whiny, not whiny, right?
Whiny.
Yeah.
Whiny.
We like whiny.
Yeah.
Well, you started talking about it earlier. We're working on the idea of getting people to think about beer like they think about wine.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And there's always, everybody has a wine nerd.
Right.
Everybody knows somebody who can talk about it forever.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we happen to be beer nerds. I think we might be a little bit unusual, but unusual meaning that rare. But yeah, getting people to think about this like they think about wine and move forward in that sense.
Yeah, and we're doing a cheese pairing, which I mean that's typically done with wine with our beers, and we'll come up with some special beers to pair with that cheese pairing, and that is always an eye opener for people that they're expecting to either need a red wine or a white wine, which are two completely opposite ends of the spectrum, and beer is kind of everything in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to pick out this and that or the other that goes with the cheese really kind of blows people's mind when they're used to that kind of culture but not used to having beer involved.
Mm-hmm.
So I always love doing that. Yeah.
Well, it's so funny. I mean, beer goes everything from your traditional, what you think of as beer, to like Gozen or sours, which don't taste anything like traditional
Mm-hmm.
beer. And so you hand that to somebody and they're like, I'm not a beer drinker. Like, try this because it doesn't taste like your traditional beer. I love doing that, especially our fruited beers. I mean, they're our Brewery Guys. I mean, you put it in a glass and put it next to a rosé. Can't really tell the difference from looking at them.
Yeah.
And then give it to somebody, and they're pleasantly surprised.
Right. And there are a couple few orchard or wineries down here, but grapes don't do that great in clay, which we have a lot of.
A lot of clay.
Yeah, they want something with a little better drainage than that. So we don't have that option, but what we do have is all of this great and I'm finding this out every week that I go and meet a new farmer. Is we just have such great produce down here that I really don't think that we get the recognition that we deserve, and the variety of fruits and vegetables and grains and nuts that are available down here. We have such a plethora of just variety down here that is associated more with kind of the Mid-Atlantic and California, and those more well-known regions that I for one, coming from the DC area, I didn't, I just thought peaches, all they got is peaches down there.
Yep.
It's like Well, that's one thing, and the peaches are great. Definitely the best peaches I've ever.
We're not
had.
talking bad about peaches.
Yeah, no, definitely the best peaches by far.
Like we had what, 4 peach beers, 3 peach beers come out this week.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think I
we're
actually
definitely
had
supporting
a
the peach.
Yeah, I didn't have an actual peach until I came down here. I mean, it's.
How dare you?
Well, I mean, after eating in Alberta, again, a couple hours from when it's picked. I mean, it's just such a different experience than going to the grocery store. And
so we went up to
peach.
Jaymore Farms and we got, where's it? Alto, Georgia, and got a load of Alberta peaches, which is antiquarian type of peach, and I think they've been doing it. I don't even want to guess, but it's a lot of years.
107 years.
It was a lot of years.
Yeah, this is their 107th
and so
anniversary.
their trees are mature, to say the least.
Yeah.
And they, we've made quite several different beers off of it. So
yep. Yeah, we did. Cool. And we even did a soda out of it. I mean, that's something.
Our
else
soda. So what was the idea behind the soda? So we've been doing shrubs,
Mm-hmm.
and now the sodas. And the sodas were selling pretty well, I guess.
Yeah, the sodas have been doing really great. The good thing about the sodas is that I think more people are kids, all sorts of folks are trying these out because I think maybe the vinegar with the shrub is what the kids weren't liking so much. But these sodas are like nice and effervescent. They've got the fresh fruit, and then it's just added sugar, a little bit of added sugar.
Yeah.
To make the.
Yeah. Again, we try to stick with what we know, and that's natural ingredients. So yeah, exactly like you said, it's 3 ingredients: fruit, water, and sugar, and I guess CO2. But
yeah,
CO2 is natural too.
My dad owned it. So my father was a pharmacist, and I can remember being really small and going into Mitchell Drugs before his drugstore was actually open, and they had an old-timey soda fountain. That's what it reminds me of.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because when was the last time you went to a drugstore that had a soda fountain?
Right.
But we have a soda fountain down at the brewery, so come one, come all.
Yeah.
And it's only expanding. Colin is doing a great job of coming up with new and fresh things because I've got my head 30 different places, so to have somebody to focus in on that and have a little bit more of a background of the area and what people want and what people like and are comfortable with, rather than trying to create this kind of esoteric soda that
or just come out of nowhere with something.
Yeah, it's like trust us, you'll like it.
You'll like
where he's creating things that are like the description sells it.
Yeah.
Strawberry kiwi soda, you know what it's going to taste like. You know it's going to be good. Peach soda, you know what it's going to be. You know it's going to be good. We're excited to keep doing that and to as long as it stays popular. We'll keep adding them on as long as we go, and it is a great thing. We've long been trying to figure out how to tap into the people that don't drink, because there is a big contingent of people that whether they're older or they're not old enough to drink, or whatever the case may be, just averse to alcohol. Something for them to come and enjoy our tap room.
We've had so many people that supported us just to support the community, and they come down and they want a product they can enjoy too, because it's their brewery and their community invested in it. And so that's part of the idea, and we didn't want to get into the restaurant business, so so definitely don't want to be in the restaurant business.
Yeah. That's a unanimous.
Decision from the restaurant business.
Yeah.
You smiled at me and made me forget what I was gonna do. So goings on. So talk to us a little bit about what's coming up in the brewery.
Well, tonight is the big. Are releasing 3 small batch beers, and the Prunus Persica, which is the peach Berliner Weiss. That all of those just got released today, and then the peach soda as well. One of the small batch beers that we released today is the Bellini style sparkling ale. Using the Jaymore Farms peaches as well. We'll have a food truck tonight. Tomorrow we've got some the book group coming down from the library.
Yeah.
This will be maybe their 3rd or 4th time holding the book club meeting down at the brewery, making it, giving a little incentive for a beer or a soda or something while you do that. We've got a little art exhibit going on. We've got not little. I mean, it's pretty much throughout. So
you worked in an art gallery.
I did.
Yeah, that's kind of neat.
It was neat.
Yeah.
Yes,
what did you do at the art gallery?
The art. It was a all handcrafted, locally sourced store. So it was in the mountains of North Carolina, and we carried local artists. We did pottery, jewelry. And weavings and anything in between.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And we also had a custom frame shop, so I learned a lot about art and just, hanging stuff on the walls and whatnot. Yeah.
It really helps you in the brewery because we support our local artists.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Thranatiska exhibition has been really good.
Thank you, Tommy Gregors.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much.
It's been on the podcast and before. And so, that was appreciated.
That was a great night. $1 per each pint was donated to Thranatiska. We've got the Flint River Aquarium coming next Tuesday, August 20th. They'll be here doing from tap to tank.
Tap to tank.
And
so they're going to can they walk across the...
Yeah, they're bringing some animals. We're going to have some animals in the brewery.
Yeah, we have
the ice cream truck.
Did we have a hawk last year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
I don't know what they'll bring this year, but yeah, we had a hawk in the brewery last year. It was fun.
Nice. Yeah.
So I think that was that the I can't remember what. Yeah, but anyways, we've had a few great events with Flint River Aquarium. We're doing another teacher appreciation event with the Flint River Aquarium, and Thranatiska and Albany Museum of Art will be nice deal in September for that. So, and then the cheese pairing, the Sweetgrass Dairy cheese pairing.
Is the symphony going to get started back up? Is that?
I think that's
Albany Symphony Orchestra.
End of September, I think. Yeah, something like that. But that's always it. No. That Sundays. Always surprises me how many people show up.
I'm amazed. So like everybody, not everybody, but maybe I shouldn't even say that. It seems that we have a very good group of servers in the tap room. That's a good positive way to say that. And so we have a very good group of servers. How is this different than maybe some of the service jobs here in town? And what's good, bad? Bad's good. Talk about bad. Yeah. So talk about.
I think one of the main things that stands out differently for me with this company is starting off at the beginning and watching it kind of become, and you grow with the business too. So that I think has been great. We've got a lot of the same faces in the tap room as we started with, and I think there's a sense of pride when you're a part of the business, when you first open the doors and you're welcoming people, and
all you got's one beer.
Yes,
and they ask you what you want.
Yeah,
here you go. Yeah. I would like. Yeah. Nope, you get this.
Yeah, exactly. And those people still come.
You can have a Coke.
Yeah, exactly.
You can have a stout.
And they're looking at the small batch board, and then they're looking at the big batch board, and they're seeing that we have anywhere from 14 to 16 beers on tap now, whereas before we had 1 and then 2, and then we just slowly added, and 3. They were all freaking good.
We're really excited about 4.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so that's been really fun. Being being able to learn this story, and I think a lot of us are from here, and it's really cool to have grown up around so much agriculture and so much opportunity to have something really cool and homegrown and roots, that it's neat to see people using these time-honored, these farming and agriculture and horticulture and crafting an alcohol or wine or whatever. So it goes back to this very kind of pastoral life that we have anyway. I think that it's something to be proud of. You see multiple people at multiple levels doing really good stuff, and it's all centered around beer. And, you know, that's what's always drawn me to craft beer, is what the brewery does in the community, how it is a hub, and how, you know, some nights we might have food, some nights we don't, but we've got those people steadily coming in to see what's going on, what's coming up. They come to get their 4 growlers and go home. And but it's been cool. There's a huge sense of pride, especially I think with our group in the tap room, just because you get to see the peach shipment come in, and you get to see these guys sitting there for 5 hours throwing pits into a bucket, and, you know, and then it's like, oh, it smells like peaches in here, and, you know, it's like, so that's been I think that's what sets it apart, is just being able to be proud of a story, and then to say, yeah, I mean, we're locally sourcing as much as possible. And,
oh yeah, super cool.
You know, it's all about the beer,
right?
And so,
and kind of circling back to how you were asking about the, you know, the southern beer style or whatever, you know, the climate has a lot to do with it, but, you know, the old English style pubs where, you know, that is, to me, is almost what we are more than a tap room, is that it's a publican place where you come and you talk to your neighbor. You don't come and stare at a TV screen. You don't come and, you know, whatever else people do at sports bars and clubs and stuff like that. That's not the place that we are. We are a place where people come and hang out with each other and talk to each other, and it's not a whole bunch of people just with their heads in their phones. And I mean, you go in there, you know, I'm sure if you go in there right now, that's what people are doing. They've got their dogs in there, they've got their kids in there, and they're talking to their neighbor, and you know, hey, I haven't seen you in a week. Let's, you know, and you know, those the kind of beers that we have right now. Not saying that we are going to create the Southern beer, but the kind of beers that we have, I mean, they're made for talking over. They're low ABV. Even our IPAs are on the lower side of the ABV, and you know, it's something that you can have a few of, talk with your neighbor, you know, discuss whatever you want to discuss, you know, neighborhood politics or whatever it might be. And you know, so it's more of that rather than trying to be the most trendy and, you know, how many crazy ingredients from the grocery store can we put in our beer at one time, and, you know, we'll put all of this cereal in this beer, and then we'll put something on the TV, and you can have your phone, and like you have your own little
on your
world where, you know, that's not what we want. Everybody to enjoy the ambiance and just the state of Georgia. I mean, you know, everything that we get, you know, thus far has been from the state of Georgia. So we hope to continue that, and you know, let the people decide what the style.
Well, the pub's a great analogy, because it's a public house. I love that idea. When I heard it, that was our thought process behind it. It's the reason we didn't put TVs in there. And it doesn't matter what day you walk in, people are sitting there talking to each other. I mean, there's the occasional guy who's had a long week, and you know, he's sitting by himself, and he's sipping on a beer, and he's looking at his phone, and that's fine too. But the idea that there's some sort of, and I said this before too, there's some sort of collective consciousness that brought us downtown, and it really is Albany's place to come and sort of relax. And you can bring your kids, and we've got a nice child area.
Absolutely.
It's almost a little caged area for outside.
Little fenced in.
Yeah, as long as they don't bring dangerous objects, there's almost nothing that they can get hurt on. So that whole thing's been cool, and I think it wasn't. That was the community's thought process, and I think that's one of the most heartening thing to me is that it was. This has become the community's place. I mean, it's been and that's been an awesome thing, and we're so excited to have Glenn and the Flint opening up next to us.
Yes, absolutely.
Definitely wish them well. Our website, we're fixing to have our CBD oil. We've got some of our merchandise that's available. Obviously, this shirt is not available. This shirt is available from Orvis.
Yeah. We haven't branded those
Yeah,
yet.
we haven't branded the Orvis shirts yet. But our T-shirts, hats, all of those things are available on the website. Our CBD should be up on the website here next week. Very excited about those things. And we'll continue to add products. Really excited about Dad's organic honey. Great product there. We're going to make what you're making something with.
We've got a lager working right now. We're really excited about. We put only a little bit in because we just did a pilot batch, but we hope to hold on to a little bit of it and use some from next year so that we can do a bigger batch of it. And it's delicious honey. It's wildflower honey. It's organic. It's. I mean, it's
really
it's
couldn't
hard
do
to
it any better.
quantify.
I mean, we had the flowers, hops. We've got hemp, or our it's not hemp. It's not hemp. It's sun hemp right
Sun
next
hemp.
to it.
Yeah.
So don't want the GBI after me.
Yeah. No.
Although it's like
they know already.
yeah. So.
No. It's hard to quantify honeys against each other, but it really is what the bees are foraging for and bring back to the hive. So the better food that we give to them, the better honey that we're going to get out. And I'm glad they're happy bees right now. We did well throughout the season, and we'll even though it's 115 degrees outside, we'll start to wind them down and winterize them.
It does eventually get cool.
Yeah,
I know you're from the north. I know you're from the northeast.
Yeah, no,
it does eventually.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I mean,
our fall's actually pretty nice.
Our
fall
is
is beautiful.
nice.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. It gets just cold enough to not be able to do citrus.
Yeah.
Just cold enough.
Well, that is an emerging market. We actually visited a citrus farm over in Pavo this past week, and
give a shout out. Who is that?
That's Fruit Factory.
Yeah,
and they're down in Pavo. Delicious stuff. I mean, so one of the things that Georgia gets a bad rap for, and as far as citrus goes, is the color. And I mean, it's a worldwide problem. Ugly produce doesn't get sold and then gets scrapped, and it's just a huge waste of time and money and resources and fossil fuels and all that stuff. So they had somebody come to them from a grocery store and said, it's not orange enough, we're not going to take it. Well,
we're going to put it in beer. We'll take it.
I don't care what it looks like. Yeah, that color isn't going to come through in the beer, but that flavor is I'm telling you better, than the stuff that gets orange, and it's got a little bit like
because color and flavor don't have anything to do with one of those.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Entirely different areas of the genome.
Right. So. Right. And I mean, we picked stuff that looked great out there too, and it was just dry as a bone and no juice to it. And I mean, so having someone's expertise on teaching you these things, and helping those farmers out too. It's like, hey, this grocery store is not going to buy, but I'll buy 500 pounds of that stuff from you.
And it's just like, I mean, with the watermelon with like the scars, the brown scars, that's sign of being well pollinated.
Right.
So it's like, you go to the grocery store and you pick out this perfectly green striped watermelon.
Yeah.
But really, you want to look at it where it's kind of lumpy and flat because it's been laying on
it's heavy
in one spot for
Yeah.
all this time. And then on top of that, those scars are actually signs of health. But we have come to look for this one after the other, same.
Yeah, it's got to look the exact same. And I mean, he said that actually he had 7 or 8 grocery store buyers come out there, and there was just that one guy that was like, I don't want to buy it because it's green and it's not orange. And then you cut into it and it's like, it's actually got this great contrast of this dark, nice, beautiful green, and then the inside is this beautiful orange, like fleshy color that you're used to. And it's almost, it tricks you a little bit into thinking that it's a different fruit, but then you bite into it and it's like,
no.
It's just a beautiful thing. Yeah. I'm
cool.
glad he let us come down there and try some of his stuff because it was great.
Went down there with Todd White.
Todd White, yep, from Georgia Grown. He's doing a lot
Georgia
of stuff.
Grown chef.
Yeah, we're actually talking to him about doing a beer pairing sometime around when he did last year, about Oktoberfest, kind of late September, early
fun.
October. So yeah, we've been talking about that. That'll be coming up as soon as we get details. We'll let the world know. But we're working on I want to do special beers for his special plates, and we're kind of doing it a little bit more than just pairing our core beers with what he wants to do. It's going to be more of an in-depth thing where he comes up with a dish and I come up with the beer, or vice versa, and we'll do 4 or 5 courses. And I love doing that stuff. That's what beer is made for, is to drink while you're eating.
I just realized since the last time we talked, we've expanded. Tell me about the new tanks.
Oh yeah.
I didn't even talk about that.
Yeah. No,
that's a pretty big deal.
That sounds like, or that feels like a year ago to me. But yeah, no, we got
things go fast.
Yeah, we got I refer to it as a Skywater tank because we got it just to brew more Skywater, and it's bigger than our other tanks. So it's a 90 barrel instead of a 60 barrel, and we just keep that thing full all the time, and it makes my life easier. It makes the brewer's life easier, and it carves out a little bit more time for us. And then we also got a 30 barrel tank that we can do, be more nimble and do these one-off cool beers. Scale up some of this R&D stuff that people are liking. So if you do like a beer, let your bartender know, and we might make a bigger batch of it.
That's right. So keep it on, because your opinion counts.
Yeah.
And so that's the. It's been about an hour. Yeah, these things when we're just talking.
Yeah.
Like it goes by so fast.
Yeah.
So thank y'all again. I know. Lauren actually has to get back to the tap room.
Yes.
She's probably in trouble.
Justin, I feel my ears burning.
Thank you, Justin. And we'll see y'all next time. Thanks.
Right.
Bye. Yep.
Thank you.